Daylight come and me want to go home. Or, something like that. So, hi, welcome to my channel again. Here's my latest review. I went and saw Beetlejuice. It's currently touring the US. Um, that was something. Okay, here's the thing. If you see enough shows, chances are good you're gonna run into some that you're either lukewarm to or flat out hate. And to be perfectly honest, I'm just lukewarm to this particular show. Now, hang on. Before you at me, just hang on. Okay, let me explain myself. I'm going to break this video into three parts. So I'm just going to give you just my overall opinion. And because I don't know how people view spoilers, I'm going to break the spoiler section into two sections. The part after my overall feelings is what do I think of the overall themes? Um, that could be spoilery, but part three I have to talk about the plot, which to me is real spoilers. So depending on how much you want to know before you go into this show, if you haven't seen the show, that's going to be the breakdown, and I will have warnings. So no worries. Okay. So, full disclosure, it was never in my intention to watch this show. I'm not a fan of movies that are not musicals that have been adapted into a stage show. Not really a fan, especially if the movie is iconic. Uh, Not that you can't take those things and do some creative things. I know going in that I'm already a little turned off. So that kind of had it going against it. Not the show's fault. That's just a personal hangup. Maybe I should work on it. My daughter actually asked to see this, and I was like, oh, really? Uh, Also, full disclosure, I don't really like this movie. It came out when I was a kid, and for some wacky reason, I was allowed to watch it because watching it now as an adult, I'm just like, yikes, for children. But not a fan. So since I don't like the source material, of course I'm not going to be wild about the adaptation. Um, but I do want to put a plug here to Wait in the Wings. It's a very successful YouTube channel that talks all things Broadway. They have done three or four nice in-depth videos talking about the whole history of the Broadway production of Beetlejuice. And it's very thorough and it's very informative. If you don't know this channel, not to plug a channel that's more successful than mine, not that I'm here for the success, I'm just here to chat with anybody who wants to chat with me about this stuff. Uh, I did watch those videos at the time that she asked for tickets, and it was very informative. And I thought, maybe I should give this a chance. So I did try. I tried to go in there going, I'll probably be surprised. And we had really good seats, by the way, like better than we usually get. So I was like, oh, yeah. Uh, my overall feeling is I respect the attempt, and I applaud anyone who wants to go somewhere wacky and weird and envelope pushing, especially for people who are like, this is not your dad's musical. That's what this show feels like to me. This is not your dad's musical, which there's nothing wrong with, absolutely nothing wrong with at all. And I liked a lot of it. Honestly, I like Act One way more than Act Two, but we'll get to that when we get to spoiler stuff. So overall feeling, it has a lot going for it. There's a lot of good things happening, and it has a huge following. People who feel like outcasts, they feel like outliers in society, are connecting with this show. I think everybody needs a show. So, yay, that people who otherwise probably wouldn't give musical theater any consideration, this is reaching them. They're embracing it. They're coming to the show cosplaying. You'll see a lot of that if you were to go to this show. If you did go to this show, especially in New York, you probably saw some things. And so I think the community is a beautiful place. I'm like, yeah, that's all well and good. And the characters themselves, like Beetlejuice, the character, love. Lydia, the character. So, as much as I actually do love the movie version, I do think they elevate Lydia the right way in the stage production. I love the art direction. I just love the show visually. So it's fun to look at this show. A lot of good things going for it. So I would not say don't see this show. I wouldn't ask you to avoid it. Give things a chance. I gave it a chance. I just wanted to see. I did get curious by the time it was time to see the thing. I So even though it wasn't my cup of tea, I don't think it was a waste of time. I don't regret going, which is always a good place, I think, to be in. So it's not like I don't approach my reviews like, go see it, it's amazing. Avoid it, it's the worst thing ever. I like to live in the gray area. You know, you have to go make up your own minds, which hopefully everyone does anyway. But to me, this is truly like I'm in the middle. But I'm leaning towards meh. Like me personally, I never need to see it again, which actually is a good thing because I have so many other things I want to watch. It's nice to make room. But I'm not going to encourage anyone to avoid this show. I think if you're at least curious, go watch it. Maybe you'll love it. All the better for you. Just because it's not my thing doesn't mean it's not good. It's just not my thing. All right. So that's like layer one. If you don't want to know anything before going to the show, if you're thinking about going, now's a good time to leave. Unless you want some more insight. What if everything I just said was too vague? Well, okay, I got you covered. I won't get into what I consider real spoilers. So this is like baby spoilers. Okay, so I like to start with character. To me, if the characters aren't compelling, why are you watching the thing? Beetlejuice, the character, very funny. So I'm going to quote Wait in the Wings. This is not my approach, and it may not even be theirs. They might have said, someone else said this, and we're just going to use it. The quick way to describe Beetlejuice is he's the Deadpool of Broadway. That is a great pitch, and it tracks. I would call him the Deadpool of Broadway. Now, if you don't know who Deadpool is, that doesn't mean anything to you. But basically what it is Beetlejuice as a character exists between not just the living world and the world of the dead, the netherworld, as it's known in his universe, but also between the world of the show and our own world. So he breaks the fourth wall. He's always talking to the audience. He's always addressing us. And he's very crude and vulgar, which does not bother me because if you've seen the movie, I mean, that's right on trend there. So it's not an easy role. Let me shout out some names here. Beetlejuice was played by Justin Collette. So I did not see Alex Brightman, who I know was heavily praised for the Broadway version. Very manic, very good. I'm sure playing this role is exhausting. So he does a good job, and I like Beetlejuice, the character. I don't know if I like the world he's set in here. I think they could do better, but we'll get to that. Isabella Esler played Lydia. Amazing, great belter. You know what I thought of as I watched her unfold? This is a great part for girls who have discovered they're actually talented for musical theater, but they're just too old to play Annie. Right? You know what I'm talking about? Because they're way too young to play anything else. They have to wait a while. Fear not. The character Lydia is here to serve you. She's a good, gives you. I'm not sure how old. They might say how old she is in this show. She's a minor, but I'm like, how minor? Is she 16? Is she 13? I think she can be read in the just teens in general. So it's nice to have a character that young, but I don't know how young she's really supposed to be. I really loved Kate Marlini, who played Delia. I liked her energy a lot too. Really loved Britney Coleman as Barbara. Jesse Sharp played Lydia's dad. What's his name? Charles. That's a character that's underserved. He has a really important moment in Act 2, and he sold it, so good job. Will Burton played Adam. I didn't care for this character, but maybe my reading of it was all wrong. Very large ensemble. A lot of costume changes, all that stuff. So they play several characters. So this is baby spoilers. The set is amazing. I knew it would be. I did kind of ruin that for myself just watching Wait in the Wings videos on the history of the production, and they do explain pieces of this etymology. So it's not just a set, it also has projections to help the set morph, because again, if you don't know the basic, and this is the basics plot, this is what the movie and the musical have in common. The plot is largely the same for a very big chunk. We are following these two average Joe people, the Maylands. They meet their untimely demise early, because this is a show, as the opening number says, is all about death. But it's making fun of death. It's kind of making light of it. It's just like not to be feared, but to be kind of, let's poke fun at it. So they're newly deads. See what I did there? And they're just learning how to be dead, and they suck at it. And they're trapped between their house, because they don't know to go to the netherworld, which is their term for the afterlife. Because they're morons. That's the idea. They're supposed to be morons. Meanwhile, this new family, the Dietz, move in. It's Charles, his mistress in this version, Delia, and his biological daughter, Lydia. Now, in the movie, they don't talk about Lydia's mom, and she's not named here, but she's a more prominent figure of the story, just in name only. And so the Maylands are trying to haunt the Dietz out of their house to get their house back. You know, they're like, right, if we're trapped here forever, we want it to be our house. So that's like the conflict. And Beetlejuice is this dead guy for hire. He's a demon. I don't know. It's not well explained in either the movie or the musical exactly what he is, but the idea is he's sort of a con man going, hey, hire me, I'll help them get out of your house. And he's very self-serving. He has his own goals, but he pretends to help other people, and he kind of helps them, but he kind of not, and hijinks ensue. We'll get to the actual ending when we get to the real spoilers. Yeah. The plot's really weird. The movie was directed by Tim Burton. This is important because Tim Burton qualities were used in the design of the show. If you not familiar with Tim Burton, well, he likes stripes. He loves black and white. He likes black and white exaggerated patterns. He likes to play with proportion. So the house is wonderful. Like parts of it are really big and parts of it are really small. Very Tim Burton. Yeah, he likes weird. He likes quirky. All of his stories, if you watch all of his movies back to back, you start to see the pattern of, oh, he likes misfits. He likes the people that have been othered because they're a weirdo, because there's something physically weird about them, something that makes them an outcast, right? The heart of the story is not fitting in, not belonging, not feeling like you are seen. That's like the quote that's used a lot by the fans. They're like, oh, this show makes me feel seen, and this is what it's like not to be seen. So like it's getting through to people. I just missed it. The songs are okay to me. I know there's a couple songs in this show that people they love them. I can't remember a single one. I didn't come out humming, and they had the merch cart, and every time I go to a show that I've never seen before, I always wait until I see it and then I buy the music. I didn't feel compelled to buy it. Sorry. The songs weren't bad. I didn't come out like humming anything, which is also important to me for a musical. But hey, you know what? There shouldn't be like these hard and fast rules of if a musical doesn't make you come out humming, then it's not a good musical. It just wasn't for me. But I do think the show is visually stunning. I like a lot of the practical things they do. At least they looked practical. It's like one part magic show. So I think there's a lot to enjoy, a lot to feast on. I'm trying to focus on the positive first, because I do think there's a lot of positive. Not only are the characters very vivid and just rich, like there's a lot of them. They're not boring. Even though the Maylands are supposed to be boring, the way they are played is not boring. And so I tip my hat to them. I just feel like I don't know if this show is trying to, they on purpose did not want to just be a copy of the movie. It's not a copy of the movie. It's borrowing a lot of the story points, but it's also doing its own thing. So I don't know if it just has an identity crisis. It's like, we want you to come if you love Beetlejuice. Oh, but don't worry, we're not too much like Beetlejuice. We're our own thing. So I don't know if it's just struggling with how to stay true for the fans, but also how to enrich it and take it somewhere new and exciting and different. So maybe it's just that push and pull that's to me is the struggle point. There are a few songs from the movie and they do appear in the show. I don't think that's a spoiler because anyone who knows the movie should know the couple of musical numbers that do pop up. They're present. Maybe this is a good time to actually break into like, okay, now let's talk about spoilers, because my problem with the show is too spoilery to just keep vague. Uh, Before I actually say anything real spoilery, Act Two to me is the problem, and it's purely a structure thing. That's the non-spoiler way of saying it. But see, don't you think that's vague? So let me dive into what do I mean by this. Okay. Act one, I think, is pretty solid. But to be fair, Act one is basically the movie without the actual ending. It goes right up until, this is where the movie would end almost. We're like 10 minutes away. But then intermission. And then Act two comes back, and I spent intermission going, wow, that was like the whole movie. But we have another act to go. What are they going to do? I was actually excited because I thought, oh boy, they're going to do something they couldn't do back in 1989, or they have this great idea for, like, I thought Act Two would be nothing but the netherworld, and I thought we'd be transported. And so maybe this is my own fault. Maybe I was putting on these weird expectations and then they didn't meet it. And so I'm like, oh, and that's not the show's fault that I was thinking fill in the blank, whatever. But I really thought about the show for days. It's been a week. I saw the show a week ago. So I've had time to think and organize my thoughts. Act two is just cuckoo bananas. I don't understand what the motivation is. Beetlejuice wants something, but he says what he wants, but then he does actions that don't match what he's doing. So I don't know what he really wants. I also don't know, are we supposed to root for this guy? Is he the hero? Is he the villain? Is he an anti-hero? Because he goes from I'm going to kill everyone to I'm going to stop this person from killing everyone. He switches on a dime. He goes from you betrayed me, so now I'm going to kill you to now I must defend you from the evil thing.
What?
Maybe that's commentary on how complicated real human relationships are, because we're not just one thing. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit to think it's that deep. I don't know. I don't know what he wants. Lydia is an easier character to get behind. So where the musical elevates her from the movie, we open with she's at her mom's funeral, and so she's in mourning. And they say that's why she's dressing like goth style, which is fine, but I don't think we needed to explain why Lydia dresses the way she dresses. Kids who are into goth, because I briefly tried to be one of them very briefly in high school, they're not like, oh, I'm mourning this dead parent or this person I lost. I think it's just a form of expression. I don't think you have to be sad to be goth. So that's the only thing I don't like about the show. I'm like, are you trying to say that goth kids are sad? This goth kid is Lydia. Lydia is sad, but I don't think she needs to be the face of goth. Like, oh, this is why they're all sad. Anyway, maybe I'm giving way too much credence to that. I like that they acknowledge that her mom's not there and that she is in mourning. And I'm selfish. I'm a mom. If it were me, I would want my daughter to care as much about me being dead as Lydia cares about her mom. So I think it's good to not just have a dead parent, but to also have the protagonists really be broken up about that. If you look at all the Disney movies, it's funny how Disney's very anti-mom, like Belle has her dad and Ariel has her dad and Jasmine has her dad. And I'm like, where are all the moms? And they seem to be doing just fine without their mom. Now, I'm not saying that they should fall apart and be a mess, but your mom's gone and it has no impact on who you are as a person. Come on. So I appreciate that Lydia's character does that. That here we have a kid protagonist, doesn't have a mom, and is a mess, and she's not going to be a mess forever, but at least she's going through a period of it. Her goals are much clearer. She wants her mom. She doesn't want to forget her mom, but once she finds out that there are ghosts in her house, that the Maylands are there and she can see them, and that she finds out that there's a gateway to the netherworld, the wheels start turning in her head. She's like, I need to go there and find a way to bring her back, because afterlife magic is a thing. So her goals are clear. So I like Lydia's goals better. But the plot doesn't make sense. Like, Beetlejuice opens the show by talking directly to us, and he talks to us often in the show. And he's like, "Hey, these people right here, they're about to die, so I can't wait for them to die because then they can help me." Ha ha ha. And then they don't help him, but it's because they're stupid, which he finds out. And then he meets Lydia, and the show wants Beetlejuice and Lydia to be, you know, best buds, which is fine. Uh, and by the end of Act One, Lydia has decided no one will help me but Beetlejuice. So Act One ends with her going, "Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice," because if you say his name 3 times, that does something. It's not clear what. Even in the movie, I'm like, you say his name 3 times, and then his powers unleashed. He has some sort of power, but it's very limited because he's not allowed to leave the house because sandworms are outside the house for some reason. What? Now maybe you're not supposed to think. Maybe I should stop over analyzing and be like, what does it mean? But it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't follow its own logic. There's a famous prop in the show, also from the movie, looks identical. It's a handbook that magically appears when you die, and it's called, the Handbook for the Recently Deceased. And it actually glows on stage. That was really cool. So they use it. They use it both in the movie and here, and you think, okay, this is going to be the rule book. This is going to explain how the world works. And they start to say a thing, but then they don't keep going with the thing. And if you start to try to parse out what the rules are, you're like, wait, that doesn't, what? So I think it's weird to introduce a book, but then not have it explain the thing, unless that's supposed to be a subversion of, you know, what, like, oh, here's the MacGuffin, but we're gonna pretend that's not real. I don't know. Why introduce the book if it's not going to help clear things up? So I don't know what's going on. I don't know who wants what sometimes. Like when Act Two opens, we meet a Girl Scout. It's a very cheeky number, which is very Beetlejuice. And the whole opening number to Act Two is Beetlejuice and Lydia answering the door because, a census taker comes by and a pizza delivery person, you name anyone that goes pedaling to the door shows up during this number, and they just want to scare them. They're like, "Boo! Ah ha ha! That was so fun!" And I'm like, "Is that it? That's your big plan. You were hoping that every time someone came to the door, you could go, okay." Meanwhile, Lydia's dad has hired a life coach, which is Delia, to help Lydia get over her mom. But they start to have an affair together. This gives the necessary stakes at the end of Act One, where Lydia catches them in bed and goes, "Oh, how dare you cheat on mom, even though mom's dead." He should have factored in Lydia's feelings before unzipping his pants. And so Delia is a terrible, she's trying so hard to bond with Lydia, but she's definitely that older person who's trying to be young and cool. But Delia is sincerely trying and failing miserably. That's what's great about this show. Every character is really bad at the thing they're trying to do. And I think that's wonderful. It's just this plot. So the Malins die. They're not allowed to leave the house, but if they were to go to the netherworld immediately, they would be fine. But since they waited too long now, they're stuck in the house. But then they can open up the book later, which means they can open up the door later, which means they can go to the Netherland. But they don't go. Why? I don't know. And it's just really confusing that Lydia goes from, "I want to find my mom," to, "Oh no, I got to save my dad and the house, and I got to trick Beetlejuice now because he tricked me." I don't know. It's convoluted and weird. Again, I think it's trying so hard to be like, remember that thing in the movie? So the Netherworld, another big disappointment. Maybe that was the point. It's just a lot of nothing. And I thought, oh, the show is just visual eye candy. But then we get to the Netherworld, and they have a square shaped, like, spiral that goes forever. And that's it. And it's supposed to show how hopeless and useless it is for Lydia, because Lydia tricks Beetlejuice so that she can go there to find her mom, and she's just wandering around, and it goes on forever. The idea is to deter her. You're not going to find your mom. she's gone, you have to let her go. That's the lesson she has to learn. Her dad actually follows her, and they have a wonderful father-daughter moment where he sees her, he hears her. That's the whole like thesis of this show. Great. But I really thought they were going to do something cool visually with Another World, and they really don't. They bring back, what's her name? Oh, she's like Miss Argentina, or oh gosh, yeah, yeah. I just used my little cheat book here. I'm like, what? Miss Argentina and the shrunken head guy and the football players. You know, it's all like, remember that thing from the movie that you like? Here they are, kind of, but it's not very satisfactory. I don't know. The ending is real bananas. So okay, Lydia's mad that Beetlejuice tricked her, so she tricks him back by going to the netherworld, and he feels betrayed. When she comes back from the netherworld, he's about to kill everybody in the house. So he's about to kill Delia and Ortho and the Malins, even though the Malins are already dead. I don't know. Whoever's around. And Lydia just pops out, and she's in the iconic red wedding dress from the movie, and she's like, oh, I changed my mind. I will marry you, because according to Beetlejuice, in order to leave the house, he has to trick a living person into marrying him. And so he chooses Lydia. But she backstabbed him and went to the netherworld, and then suddenly she comes back and she's already dressed, and she's like, I changed my mind. I don't understand. The minute she comes back to the end, I'm like, you lost me. Maybe I do need to watch it again, because I'm like, what? I actually read the plot online, and I'm like, nope, doesn't help. So she marries him, and then, spoiler alert, plot twist, and then she kills him so that he can be recently deceased. And then the caseworker from the movie, who has a much smaller role in the movie, is much bigger here. She shows up, and she's the real villain, I think. But that's not all. She's also Beetlejuice's mother, because he spends the whole show leading up to this point going, my mom sucks, blah, blah, blah. I didn't realize that they were going to pay that off, because they bring up all these other threads that they don't pay off, but that's the one they do. So I guess those other ones were just red herrings, but she's his mother, and she's disappointed in him. And so she betrays him. And she's like, hey, girl, talking to Lydia, you went to the netherworld, and once you do that, you can't come back. So she's trying to take Lydia back to the netherworld. Not Charles, her dad, who also went there, by the way. No, we just want Lydia. It's not even following the rules of its own. And then Beetlejuice bursts into the room riding a sandworm, and he kills his mom to protect Lydia, even though she just killed him and tricked him. And what? So the actual ending ends the way the movie does, where Beetlejuice goes back to the netherworld, because that's what he's supposed to do. The Malins don't leave their house, and they decide to let the Deeds stay there, and they all live very kumbaya and do their jump in line song, and it's over. Okay. I don't get it. It has all the story beats. It has the day, it has that party scene. So there's important guests that come see it. Adam and Barbara use that to scare them, but they love it. And so they're like, we're gonna make all this money. And so it's like, oh no, now we need Beetlejuice. That's there. Yeah. The real departure in this show is Ortho. He's like a weird henchman in the movie. He's like uh Delia's, what is he? It's been a while since I've seen the movie. Her art dealer or her assistant. I don't know. In this, he's like her guru, because she's always like, as my guru Arthur always says, and then she says some punny thing, which uh now this is a personal taste thing. This show is funny, but not because I laughed. The audience I was with, they loved the show. They ate it up. They were very good audience, well behaved, all that stuff. I don't think I laughed at all. I think I was just like, I mean, that could be funny. maybe I was in a weird mood that day. I don't know. I didn't laugh, but the audience laughed. So I'm the weirdo here. In a show about weirdos, this is the weirdo. Ortho is completely different in this show, though. He shows up late in the story after being talked about a lot, and he's weird. And he's doing that thing, as much as this is trying not to be your dad's musical, it falls into some of the musical theater tropes. Ortho's kind of played as the over the top, extravagant, flamboyant gay man. I think he's gay. And if he's not, he's poking fun at gay men. He's doing that weird caricature thing. Not all gay men are like, oh my God, like girlfriend, like, oh, girl, please. Like, that's not how they all talk. I would argue that's how a lot of them don't even talk. Like, I'm sure they're tired of this. It just felt very lazy. I don't know. I think the show is trying so hard to be funny. Like, Beetlejuice is doing coke on stage and he's talking about orgies. And I mean, he does this in the movie where sex is a part of the show. It's sexy time. And it's not just Beetlejuice. There's a scene where Delia and Charles have just had sex and he's all like, yes, I'm awesome at sex, or I don't know. It just feels like it's trying way too hard to be funny. And so because it's trying so hard, I didn't find it funny. But my audience sure did. So maybe I'm the weirdo. I don't know. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I just thought it was adequate. But yeah, I think the songs were just okay. I think the story was bananas. Love the characters, love their energy, very funny. Oh, another thing that the show does do that I haven't seen other shows do that I recall, it actually has pre-show, intermission, and post-show like music playing and lights doing the whole, like, how the light beams move around. I love the pre-show music. It's so atmospheric. You definitely feel like you just walked into a circus tent and you're like, something weird's gonna happen here. And it does. So that was nice. We had really good seats. My kid had a good time. She liked it. I'm glad she's almost 13. And there were younger children there. And so when they're on stage talking about sex and orgies and substances, whew, I don't know if I would take kids to this, judge their maturity level. If either it's going to go phew or they're going to get it and go, right, that's fine, whatever. Like, how sensitive are your children? We might be more embarrassed on their behalf than they are on their own. If she was younger, I would definitely not have taken her to this. It's a little too adult to me. But I trust where she is in her evolution, that it's fine. She's fine. She says she likes the show, but I know she hasn't been humming any of the songs from it. She's still humming other things we've seen more. So take that with you. But again, I don't regret the show. I think it's important to have very different shows. I just think Beetlejuice, the character, and Lydia, the character, are so good. They deserved a better script, something that had more support. And if you're going to introduce rules, just be consistent with the rules so that when everything happens, you go, oh, sure. Yeah, that's a logical conclusion for that set of conflicts to go to. It felt like things just kind of happened, but they weren't connecting. They felt very separate from each other. I don't know. Yeah, so those are my detailed thoughts on Beetlejuice, currently touring the US. It closed on Broadway January of this year, 2023. So the tour is fairly new. It's been to a couple places already, but if it's coming near you and you're thinking about going, I say check it out. You might love it. My audience certainly did. My kid did. I thought it was okay. It was just okay. But I appreciate what it is doing. I do think it has something to offer, and I like things that challenge the establishment. So that's all good. Just didn't quite stick the landing for me. So to me, it's very, yeah, perfectly adequate. That's where I shall leave you until we meet again. Bye.